without video games, I would have never ever become fluent in English. So when I was learning Russian, I was thinking, how can I use video games to also quickly improve my Russian skills? Because let's face it, video games are easy to spend hundreds of hours in. So if you are already playing video games and you are learning Russian, why not combine the two? You'd be insane not to combine the two, because by playing video games in Russian with Russian voiceover, you can, like, without effort, expose your mind and brain and ears to so much Russian that it's going to be like you're going to improve so much on autopilot. So in this video, I want to share with you 3 video games that I really enjoy playing, and in the end also give you a tip how you can find your own video games with Russian voiceover relatively easily, so you can also play them. So the first video game that I enjoyed so much, this is an original game in the Russian language, is Metro 2033, or Metro 2033. This is based on a book by Dmitry Gluchovsky, one of my favorite Russian writers, and it's about a nuclear war in the world, killing everyone. Дай бог не случится. And the only people who survived were the ones who were at that point in the Moscow metro, because it was also functioning as a bomb shelter. So over time, I think the story starts about 20 years or so after this happened, there have been, like, each metro station became like a city, and some of them are trading with others. Some of them are creating like larger cities, like spread over multiple metro stations. Some of them are fighting other factions, and it's just such a cool world building. And you play as Artyom, who needs to save all the metro from mutants who have arrived on the outside world, where there's still lots of radiation. And what I love about this is because the Russian voiceover is just perfect, because it's originally in Russian. And it's such a cool story. It's like 10-15 hours where you can just go through. It's a shooter, but if you don't really care about all the gameplay elements, you can also just put the difficulty on like beginner, and it's just a great story to go through. Whereas if you love a challenge, put the difficulty on hard, and it's a really challenging game. And there's also 2 sequels, Metro 2034, 35, which have the same great gameplay as the first one. So in total, you can spend like, I don't know, 50 hours on this, and this is going to be a great story. And I recommend you just play with Russian voiceover and English subtitles so you understand everything. If you're more advanced, for example, if you've already followed my course, Russian Conversations Unlocked, then you can always try playing with Russian voiceover and Russian subtitles and see how far you get. Because in the end, it's just a game where you walk around and shoot, so it doesn't really matter if you understand everything. So that would be a good challenge. So the second game that I enjoyed a lot was The Witcher 2 and 3. So these are games where you play Geralt, a guy who needs to attack monsters with his sword or using magic spells. And it's also a great story, and it's originally, I think, from a Polish game studio. So I've seen friends play this game in English, and then I played it myself in Russian, and I'm like, no. In Russian, it's just so much cooler to go through the story. And what I like about this is, like, The Witcher 2 has a relatively straightforward story where you can go through. And I think it's also like 20-30 hours. But The Witcher 3 is more like open world game. And you can easily spend like 100 hours in here by doing like side quests and just exploring the entire world. And there's so much dialogue in here, which is going to be great for your Russian skills. So the third game that I enjoyed a lot, and that lots of my friends also enjoyed, is Skyrim. Yes, you can actually play this with Russian voiceover. And Skyrim, you might be familiar. It's another game where you walk around in an open world and attack dragons with swords and spells. And there's like, I've got a friend who spent over 1,000 hours in this game, and his wife, she's from another country. And I'm like, if you would have just, instead of playing his English is already good. If he would have just played the game in the language of his wife, then without any effort, he'd be way more fluent than average people who try to learn the language. So it's such a wasted opportunity for him. So these were the 3 games that I enjoy playing in Russian. And if you want to find other games in Russian, there's actually a website, which is like a Steam database kind of thing, where you can look here. You just fill in that you want to look for games that have the Russian voiceover language. And then once you got that, you can look for, I don't know, single player, shooter, RPG, strategy. You can find all these games, and then you can check if you want to play that game. If you are already playing video games and you are learning Russian, you have to combine the two, because it's just free Russian skills upgrade.